Howdy doody everyone, Wambo here. It's been over a year since I first made a video about the 2015 independently made bomb that was Undertale. Since then, the hype for it seems to have died down a bit, but guess who still gets requests to talk about the game, and more importantly, still loves it? Me. I was referring to myself. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to be a rhetorical question. This time, I'm going to be talking about, would you look at that? My video's getting interrupted. Give it a second. Would you look at that? My video's getting interrupted.
Oh no, Lord help me. I've been kidnapped. Please, someone save me from this impending doom that is my life.
Wambu, what the hell?
Blaze! Ed! How rude of you both to intrude on my video like this.
I told you, Wambu, it's Specter Spark now. And let me guess, you're making a video about Undertale.
I'm making a video about the top 10 Undertale characters. Undertale has a lot of strong suits, one of those very much being the cast. What?
Strong suit. More like the heart and soul of the game. The most unique aspect of the game is the choice to either fight each monster you encounter, or spare them. And if you want to spare them, you need to learn a little bit about that monster. A system like that needs likable, well-written entities. Otherwise, the conflict just wouldn't work.
Plus, it's the reason the game can juggle so many different tones at once. The expressive creatures around the world act as a contrast to the emotionally vacant player character. That's why the game can have you laughing your lungs out 1 second, and then shatter your heart to pieces in another.
Indeed.
And so you brought us here because...
I don't know what you're talking about. I definitely wasn't expecting this.
Aside from your completely unconvincing writing, why are we here?
Because three-way collab.
Oh, no. No way, not with this guy.
What? Why not?
You tried to kill me!
Well, to be fair, I turned him into a carrot, so I think it balances out.
That literally makes no sense.
No, I think he's right. It makes perfect sense.
This isn't your agreement to make Specter!
Ed, think about this from a narrative standpoint. Both of you guys collaborated on my channel before, and it was pretty cool. Then you guys did your own collab together, and it wasn't as good. So why not all of us do our own thing? Together! So top tail under 10 characters, you guys in?
No! Oh, it's the Tammys.
Hey, Blaze, are you alright?
Take cover, you fool!
Tammys. Tammys are cool.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
So, let's talk Temmys.
For those of you who don't know, or don't remember, Tammys are the part dog, part cats that live in a small village tucked away in the corner of the waterfall. If it wasn't obvious, they're joke characters. They're basically walking non sequiturs. They have their own brand of cereal, they're allergic to each other, they just do whatever they want because they don't give a fuck.
One pretty interesting thing about them, though, that you guys failed to mention in your last video because you both suck, is that they're actually based on one of the main artists that worked on the game, Timmy Chang. And in fact, the actual Timmy design itself has been around for a while, as Miss Chang used it as a mascot years before Undertale made it a well-known thing. So, in a weird way, the Timmys are actually inside jokes that we were all years late for.
You know, that actually makes a lot of sense because when you look at the way these guys speak, it's very reminiscent of, say, a 12-year-old that equates randomness with comedy. By all accounts, it should probably be unbearably cringy. But I guess in something like a video game, where that kind of humor can actually have visuals to complement it, it genuinely ends up being funny.
I guess when you put it that way, it is pretty stupid. What do you think, Does he need to be plugged back in or something?
I just had a thought.
What's up?
Based on what we all said, theoretically, the Tammys shouldn't be funny.
Yeah?
I guess so?
And yet we all find them funny.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are we all just immature kids at heart?
This is weird. We should move on.
Agreed.
Our next entry is one of the main antagonists of the game, the one who rules over the underground with an iron fist. Who is also, you know, a kind and gentle goat man. Okay, Asgore is a very interesting beast. Now, admittedly, while I wasn't too big on his boss fight, I still found his overall...
What?
Is there a problem, Specter?
I wasn't too big on his boss fight. Are you kidding me? His fight is by far one of the best in the game.
I disagree.
The symbolism and the gameplay was coupled together to make it a truly nail-biting boss that can actually be really difficult if you decide to go on a pacifist run.
Fair, but what about...
And he was built up throughout the entire game as someone who will kill you if you're not careful, even by those who know of his true nature. Oh, hey, Mom, a cookie made of stars.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, he really needed to shut up. Anyway, Asgore is probably the most built-up character in the whole game. In the beginning, he's treated as someone who will fucking destroy you.
Only for Papyrus to say after his boss fight that he's actually a big softie. And weirdly enough, both are right. Asgore is a super nice dude that practices gardening, singing, and murdering children to condemn all of humanity.
What?
No, it's fine. He does it for his people.
Sure. In many ways, though, Asgore is one of the most tragic characters in the game. At the time you meet him, he's alone at his old home, with his family split apart, wishing for the day that he might be able to see them again.
However, after the death of his son Asriel, he ended up divorcing his wife Toriel. Now he operates purely on the interest of the creatures of the underground, and as screwed up as it may sound, the whole child murder thing is indeed part of his goal to free the rest of the monsters from the underground. If I could pinpoint an issue I have with him, though, it's that the true ending paints him as kind of a butt monkey. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like a character with his demeanor and backstory deserves a lot better.
Although one thing Asgore is really good at is dying. Seriously, he is pretty much the only character who consistently dies except in the true ending. Fight him, he dies. Spare him, he dies. Spare everyone in the game, he still dies.
What about in the genocide ending?
You mean the one where everyone dies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he totally lives in that one.
Really?
No. You fucking idiot.
Gory is Big Goat Boy! Big Goat Boy get big boss fight! Try and think of people to stab! Goat Girl fight Goat Boy, too much goat edgelord, so Goat Girl leave him!
I think we may need to retune this man.
Here, I got this.
Fucking, I was eating those beads, are you fucking insane? I was eating those beads!
You come to me on this, the day of my daughter's wedding.
Whalers, Thundermoon, Mamma Mia, Papa Pia, Baby got the tire.
I tell you, I've never seen such a sorry list in all my life! The previous Undertale list was far better, you
Stop the chaos. Update.
Fuck you! Asgore's fight is good!
There we are, he's back now.
Did you guys do the entry without me?
Yeah.
God fucking damn it. Well, we're going from talking about the nicest guy in existence who happens to look like Satan to actual Satan!
I'm not entirely convinced that Satan isn't standing right next to me.
Oh ha ha!
So fun fact, the character you name at the very beginning of the game is not the player character. It's actually this guy, canonically known as Kara.
Which is pronounced Kara, not Chara, you assholes! It's a play on the word character! Oh my god! Every name in this game is a play on words, you idiots!
Are you fucking done?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, Kara is the first human to ever come to the underground, and is the adopted child of Asgore and Toriel. You only ever directly encounter them in the genocide ending, and while that scene does represent them as overtly misanthropic, Kara, on the whole, is actually one of the more ambiguous characters in the game.
In my opinion, they're just an edgelord.
Ed. Da fuck?
I don't know, I've just never been a big fan of them.
I'm gonna kill him!
What? It's just my...
Okay, hold on. What? Ed, did you not just hear what I explained? Do you not see the brilliance of the subversion of expectation with this character?
Kara is one of the most nuanced characters in any video game.
They have a much-needed enigmatic motive that cannot be pinpointed through any one playthrough.
We don't know what they've been through on the surface. All we know is that they hate humanity, and there are implications that, when falling into the underground, they were trying to commit suicide!
You don't often find characters this simultaneously complex and ambiguous in games, Ed. They're basically a giant anomaly who can at any point be super complacent or be the scariest fucking thing ever.
And yet they're still paramount to the game's story, being central to the backstory of the Dreamer family, and being a parallel to not just the player character, but the player themselves, especially when doing a genocide run.
And when you top that off with the many theories surrounding them, like the idea that they're narrating your adventure, it's the significance he has on the player while only ever being in the background the whole time that makes them so effective, Ed.
You guys are actually the most pretentious people ever.
More pretentious than him stuff?
Yeah, I guess we are.
Much like the Temmies, Napstablook is actually one of the more minor characters to land a spot on this list. Though unlike the Temmies, his appearances are much more reoccurring, and have an actual presence in the game's story. Again, if just minor.
It's not just that he's reoccurring, but that he's a very different monster from the rest of the cast in the Underground. As a ghost, he's not really able to die. In fact, when you fight him, he flat out says that he was only depleting his health bar to make you feel better during a neutral run. He's also very introverted, and is actually borderline antisocial if you look at his dialogue from a cynical point of view.
But that's actually what kind of makes him a breath of fresh air.
Despite this being in the Underground.
Stop interjecting during my lines, you fuckface!
Okay.
You have all these characters leaping around, telling puns, throwing weapons, and here's this little ghosty man lying down in random spots, sitting in his computer all day, and just generally being pretty mundane. Seriously, this guy has a snail farm. A snail farm! The only notable activity he does is raising a farm of animals that are more mundane than him.
And to add to that, he's one of the only characters involved in fights that don't really have a conclusion. He just kind of ends his own fight on his own accord, and he ends the Mad Dummy fight on complete accident. It's almost like the entire point of these battles is to just have a bit of fun, and then Napstablook is all like, well, enough of that, time to move on with our lives. I mean, he doesn't even really ever die, no matter what route you're on, even genocide, unless you reach the end of that route and the world gets erased. Come to think of it, why is this guy even rated so high on the list?
He's relatable, okay? He's a dumb ghost boy that listens to music and sits at a computer most of the time. I feel him on that. He represents good vibes. He even probably likes Kendrick Lamar. Just like this guy.
Okay, come on, Wombu. That sounds like because I myself am a ghost, I can relate to Napstablook. I mean, look at this guy. All he really does is just sit at his computer all day and make a bunch of shit for the internet and then post them for people to see and then wait for other people to approve of his hard work and Oh, and by the way, he has a cousin.
Mettaton is an interesting character in that he, yes he, the game confirms that he is a man, is the only celebrity in all of the Underground. As such, there's kinda mixed feelings to be had about him. He's a seemingly homicidal robot that has the sorta arrogance you'd expect from a stereotypical celebrity.
He's totally redeeming though.
How so?
He's funny. Robo Square Man make me go haha.
But what about...
Robo Square Man make me go haha.
I'm gonna talk now. Mettaton is the cousin of Napstablook that was given a robot body by Alphys. Since living with his cousin, he had dreams of being an entertainer. And now that he's achieved said dream, he spends most of his life being just the dumbest fucking guy.
And yet, being the only entertainer in the Underground, he manages to do a lot. He does game shows, cooking shows, newscasting, and even theater. And of course, he'll work in some attempted murder each time. All the ingredients are here, all that's left is a chainsaw to the face.
That's not to say that the character is never taken seriously though. At the end of the Mettaton EX fight shows, he still has a legitimately strong bond with his audience. Speaking of Mettaton EX, yeah, this is a thing. This is about as dignified as the character gets, which really says something.
Those gorgeous legs.
That is something I heard today.
This character is so good that he's the only one Sparky and I previously cited as a good moment from the game. And no, we didn't put any other characters on that list, so some of you may think he deserved to be number one, but like, don't worry about it. You know, there's many reasons as to why the very beginning of the game is quite jarring. One of the main reasons being that the game followed up the encounter with one of the most evil characters in the game with the introduction of by far its most wholesome.
And yet, in spite of that, that's one of the reasons I love it so much. We go from this obviously evil bastard of a flower to Goat Mom!
Or Dragon Mom.
Disproven.
But
Don't sass me, Ed boy!
Anyway, Toriel is only really a big presence right at the beginning of the game, and yet she's a super important character all the same. The name Goat Mom is actually pretty apt, because she is easily the most nurturing character you'll meet in the whole game.
Not to mention, she attempts to adopt you right on the spot due to said nurturing nature, even though that nature might also be tied to a significant trauma that involves two characters very close to her, oh, I don't know, dying pretty much at the same time.
that trauma leads to Toriel coming off as a bit overbearing as a result. And while you're at home, she does come off as extremely kind, yes, but she also prevents you from leaving as well, simply because the monsters will try to... Oh, I'm sorry, not the monsters. Asgore will try to kill you in her eyes.
With Goat Fire.
Dragon... You know what? Screw it. Yes, Goat Fire.
What's also very interesting about her is depending on how the player handles her, her scenes could be some of the most gut-punching in the game. Unlike her ex-husband Asgore, who pretty much always has the intention of stopping you, whether you're Mr. Nice Guy or a crazy serial murderer, Toriel will be protective of you, which means it's very possible to start the game by killing the player's most maternal figure.
I think the best part about fighting her is that if you don't know how this game works, and you accidentally kill her, that last hit you give her actually does more damage from a relatively high point in her HP bar. So when that happens, it gives the players a bit of an, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that vibe.
Point being, Matricide is pretty cool. What?
That's fucked up. You're fucked up.
Whatever. Disclaimer, Ed does not actually condone matricide. Seriously, that's your mom. Why would you do that? Get some help, dude.
Undyne is a... Undyne is a very transformative character over the course of the game. She starts off as this intimidating, foreboding figure, then becomes... then becomes this over-the-top maniac that tries to kill you, and then becomes this over-the-top friendly Frienderson that tries to kill you.
I guess she's just always trying to kill you no matter what. But it's cool, because it's all in the name of justice. And cooking. Justice cooking.
Yeah, but there's actually a lot of depth to her character, especially later in the game when you find out that she actually has a very interesting friendship with another character in the underground.
In other words, she's gay as hell for Alfies.
Hey! That's too blatant. I was trying to be subtle.
Specter, you're about as subtle as a bag of hammers.
You're as subtle as a bag of hammers.
Anyway, Undyne likes women.
God damn it!
It's also super fun to see how the game just progressively strips her of any dignified qualities and slowly but surely turns her into a typical anime character. You know how anime she is? She thinks anime is real. That's how.
And has a complete existential crisis when the reality of anime is put into question.
Like with Mediton, though, she does have her kind of serious moments. For example, it was revealed that Asgore was able to influence her into seeing the value of pacifism, which is why she sees the player as a wimpy loser with a big heart. After putting on this display of actual maturity, she promptly burns down her own house while cooking spaghetti.
Maturity indeed.
However, if you're going on the opposite route, it's revealed that Undyne is way more powerful than she has any right to be.
Of all the encounters in the game, Undyne has the absolute most determination. So much that her body isn't always able to contain it. Even when she has her stomach completely cut through, she manages to keep fighting. Just how nuts can she get?
Funny and pacifist, badass and genocide.
And heartbreakingly tragic during the neutral run fight.
I'd say that's more than enough of a reason to rate her so high. And she likes women.
I'm going to fucking kill you. Never mind, I'll spare you so hard that I won't have to fight this guy.
Good boy.
It wouldn't be a proper list if we didn't include the smiley trash bag sand. I swear to God, if you utter one more note from that song, I will fucking...
Sans is one of two skeleton brothers you meet in the game, and he is easily far more lazy, downbeat, laid back, omnipresent, and prone to bad puns than the other. Like other characters, he's pretty deceptive in his introduction. He's first seen as this stalkerish, shadowy figure, before quickly revealing himself to just be a goofy skeleton.
In the pacifist section, he's not much beyond a silly goofster, gaffster, laughster, and all-around punster who gives you the occasional warning on what might happen if you were to go on a more killy route.
But it's when you go on a genocide run that shit hits the proverbial fan. You see, if you pay attention to his dialogue outside of genocide, you can get a sense that something isn't right about Sans' personality. But once you fight him, once he starts making you his bitch, once you start realizing that everything you've done up to this point has led up to you fighting the weakest enemy in the game, and that weakest enemy is kicking your ass, the truth is revealed. He's not lazy just for the sake of being lazy. He's lazy because of apathy, depression, hopelessness. He's been aware of your time-traveling shenanigans, or at least Flowey's, and the knowledge that everything in his world is caught in this Groundhog Day time loop has left his psyche shattered.
It's made all the more apparent about that during a pacifist ending too, when everyone is finally on the outside. Everyone is happy and they're so excited to be outside. Except for Sans, who has very little to say about the situation aside from telling Papyrus that the big yellow ball in the sky is a sun. Now, how the hell did he know that was a sun? Because he's seen it already, because of the time loops. That is tragically depressing.
It's these factors that make Sans easily one of the deepest and most compelling characters in the game, as well as my personal favorite.
Oh yeah, definitely. But, you know, the fact that he's a trombone-playing, ketchup-drinking skelly man also helps.
It's all an act, Wabu! It's all an act!
But he also puts hot dogs on your head. And that's funny.
Wombu, you're a scumbag. This guy should have been number one.
So, here's the other funny skeleton, except this one doesn't really have underlying depression underneath it all. He's a big, happy pile of sunshine and rainbows, and also probably the funniest of all the characters.
Whereas Mettaton's humor was very absurd and Undyne's was very dynamic, Papyrus is much more innocent and childlike. So it's no wonder that a lot of the characters in the game are really protective of him, most notably Sans and Undyne.
He's also got a pretty huge passion for puzzles, and he is not at all shy of expressing it. They range from the incompetently designed, to the malfunctioning, to the extremely excessive.
And yet, in spite of his numerous failures, he manages to stay in high spirits. In some ways, it may honestly be a little suffocating. Since a pacifist run sees you become his first ever friend, he's kind of a clingy guy, so by all means his bumbling but loud and happy nature should be pretty annoying. He was still endearing to us at the end of the day though.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Papyrus isn't number one because he's too funny?
What? No, it's just that he's too simple?
Too simple! In the face of overwhelming odds and adversity, he chooses to be a nice guy! I mean, come on! If he beats you in his boss fight, he doesn't even shatter your soul! And if you lose enough times, he just lets you go! Even if you kill everyone else, he wants to be your friend! Even after reducing him to a head, he still believes in you!
It's admirable to be sure. Why do you think he's number 2 and not any lower? He is one of the kindest characters in the game, and yes, also the funniest.
Look, it's true that his bumbling antics may come off as a bit much, but look at him from the perspective of, say, Sans. For all intents and purposes, it looks like Papyrus hates Sans when you first meet him. He's constantly getting on Sans' shit for being lazy, he gets angry for putting down such a lackadaisical crossword puzzle, and he goes all tsundere on you once he reveals the super ultra mega definitely gonna kill you death trap before you reach the entrance of Snowdin. And yet, after the battle with him, and you go on a date with him,
he's just a consistently nice and funny-ass guy. And ultimately, that's what makes him so impactful for all three of us. He's a character that knows how to bring good vibes out of any situation. But there was still one more character that was just a tiny bit more impactful for all of us.
Not me.
Two of us. But before we get to number one, here's some honorable mentions. And Alfie's. Kind of an obligatory character to mention on a list like this, but being brutally honest here, none of us like her very much.
She's everything I hated about Navian 5 from Zelda cranked up to 11. Ugh.
We understand what Toby was going for with her, but in our opinion it just didn't work. Speaking of Toby, Toby himself is in the game. As a dog.
I like dogs.
Unfortunately, annoying dog is very true to his name, so honorable mention it is.
And here we have another dog. This one is what my current avatar is based on, so it was worth mentioning.
All of the petting.
Rambunctious, spunky, and yep, it's a kid alright.
Not really all that memorable outside of maybe a couple scenes, though. Okay, so I really love the amalgamates and concept, and the True Lab is my favorite area in the game, mostly thanks to them. The reason this is a secret honorable mention, however, is because both Ed and Specter did not want to have them in the video, but I snuck them in anyway, and they are not going to know I did this until the final video goes up. So joke's on these two fucking clowns.
Yep. Now you may be wondering why we put Wombu in the honorable mention.
Fuck right off!
Boss fight is good, but character is only around for one scene. There. Now for number 1.
Not gonna lie, this entry will really be an unexpected choice for a lot of you. Some of you may be shocked, paralyzed even. But all jokes aside, our number 1 is...
A lot of you may think that we're fucking with you, but I can assure you that we are absolutely fucking with you. Roll out the real number 1.
Yep, this wasn't totally obvious whatsoever.
Now, if you want to get technical, Asriel and Flowey are incredibly different in terms of personality, but at the end of the day, it's the same character, so it's both forms of Asriel Dreamer that top this list.
Allow this humble doggo to explain that. You see, the only reason why Flowey is the way he is because, well, Asriel died because of Kara. And during Alphys' experiments with determination, she tried it on a flower, and Flowey happened, with no soul and no emotions, but with Asriel's memories and aspects of his personality.
Yeah, and then he got sick of not feeling anything, so he killed himself!
Subtle.
Not done, Ed. You see, it was while being at the cusp of death that Flowey realized that he had access to the power of determination, which if you've been paying attention to the game at all, you'll realize is very, very bad.
It's when he takes the form of something as innocuous as a flower that Asriel becomes by far his most dangerous. If Kara paralleled the player in a lot of ways, Flowey does so even more. He was the first character to gain the ability to save, and with that, he experimented with everyone's lives, knowing he could reset the timelines each time, until he eventually became numb and adopted the mantra that he enforces on the player throughout the game. In this world, it's kill or be killed.
Cynical little shit.
In this way, Flowey embodies the most unique part of Undertale, the fact that it remembers your saves. While other games would see the resetting of save files as a safety net for the player, Flowey has that same power, meaning he revels in the choices you regret and go back to fix. He has the fear factor that's able to transcend the game itself and reach right into the player's mind.
Not to mention, when you really think about it, Flowey has the mindset of a player who has played a video game repeatedly, down to the fact that they remember every outcome, every line of dialogue, every encounter in every detail of the game. And so, what do you do when you play a game too much and get bored? Fuck with the game, of course!
This becomes especially apparent towards the end of any neutral run, where he kills Asgore assuming the player has spared him, crashes your game, deletes your save, and becomes what, in my humble opinion, is the best fight in the entire game. But then we still have to talk about the other side of the coin, Asriel when he's not a flower.
While the genocide route comes to a head with Sans and the neutral routes with Flowey, the true pacifist route gives us Asriel Dreamer, and upon doing everything to make everyone happy, Asriel makes one final stand to try and make the whole timeline start again. But ultimately, his emotional barriers are broken as well.
Turn the tables to Flowey becoming Asriel by absorbing hundreds of souls, as well as the 6 human souls, and you go from hating this bastard to hating yourself for even thinking of hating him, because oh my god, I just want to hug this poor little guy.
While Asriel doesn't shy away from the horrible actions he made as a flower, there's definitely sympathy to be had for a guy who unwillingly became a player in his own world, rather than an actual living being in it.
And yet, as tragic as it is, in spite of everything, when you finally get close to Asriel and the barrier breaks, setting everyone free, he unfortunately is left to turn back into Flowey. And while he's not nearly as malicious as before, he still remains to be the only character that doesn't get a particularly happy ending.
Particularly happy? He gets nothing! Nothing!
Absolutely absolutely nothing!
I mean, shit! The only one to know of Flowey being Asriel is you! Why? Because everyone was in stasis during the final battle! Yay! Fuck off, story! Give me my happy ending with this poor kid! Where's that Dreamer Reborn fanfic? I gotta read it again!
But ultimately, you don't see characters in video games that are this profound in this many different ways. He's scary as fuck, but also very deep, with a very real emotional through line. And for all these reasons, he's easily deserving of being number one.
I mean, personally, I would rank Sans and Papyrus higher.
Yeah, and you'll receive your well-deserved lynching later. But for now, we're done, you guys.
Awesome! And that was the list. I hope you all enjoyed.
I'm here too.
Can I go back to killing Ed now?
Trying
to kill Ed now?
No. But thanks for joining me.
Anytime, dude. That was so fun. I think I'm gonna sing about it. Thank you all. We hope you liked watching Endboy, Specter, and Wombo.
He's definitely not supposed to be doing this right now.
Okay. I'm just gonna go home before Hipster gets to my stuff again. Fuck those channels!